So when I talk about prison a lot and I talk about the corruption that goes on, a lot of people look at me like I'm exaggerating. So check this out. This is the realities of Florida prison. Look at this. Look how much this officer made that they could find out. And then this officer, and this officer. And then look at the type of shit.
How drugs, cell phones, and guns are being smuggled into Florida's prisons.
An I-team
So they'll say, how come they don't get caught? How is this happening? Like I tell you guys, they extort you in there. They play with your life, your freedom, your family. So you're a criminal, right? You're trying to go to prison and, pay for what you did. And you get in there and some dudes have so much connection, so much pull, they're able to make shit happen on the inside and make a lot of money doing it. And you have so many people that don't have any family, filled with anger, hate, locked up for 10, 15 years. So they're soldiers on the battlefield. They're going to protect their investment, the person that's feeding them. And, they throw a fishing hook and an officer bites and they say, look, you're going to make 30, 40 grand. We got you. And they give them also like, hey, look, that inmate ain't shit. You can extort him like this. So the way officers will do it is, one, the inmates will run down on you and they'll let that happen. Or an officer will see that you're getting a lot of money and ask permission and say, hey, can I get involved with this? And they'll run down on you and say, hey, tell your people to send a cash app. Call your mom out there, your family, whoever's been sending the money to get whatever you're trying to get in there. And then basically say, if they don't send it to this account, you're going to go to confinement. We're going to take all your gang time away, put charges on you, beat the shit out of you, whatever it may be. So you think somebody's just going to get and say that when they got 2, 3, 10 more years to do? And then on top of it, you have inmates that survive this way. This is all they can do to eat, provide for their family out there. And you wonder why so many people get out and go right back in, because it's all the same. The inside runs the outside. I never personally got caught up with any of this shit, gambling, drugs, or any of that, but it's everywhere. And it makes the prison even crazier because everyone's twacked out on that Tucci and whatever else they got going on in there, and they're psych, and they're already hateful and locked down and paranoid, and then you mix all them chemicals with it, they're going crazy in there. That's where more of the stabbings happen, killings happen, the officers are getting on it, so they're just throwing more fuel into the fire. And then you have a guy who's the leader of an organization who's bringing in a lot of money, has all these guards in his pocket, and basically the officers can reach your family out there. No one will suspect it. And what's worse, the ultimate punishment is time. When you go to prison, you get threatened to go for your decisions with time, or you get killed. You lose time on this earth, time with your family. It's always the ultimate threat. So the officers don't always have to react with violence to extort you. They can threaten you with time. Have other inmates come and say, look, if you don't, not only will I put you in confinement, you'll do another 2 years in the box, you'll be in CM, you'll lose 180 days of gain time, good time, and then when you get out, I'm gonna have such and such hit your ass up, and you go right back to the box. Tell your mom to send that.
She sent a payment. How much money did they want to keep him from being put in?
And that dude got caught up. You don't gamble, you don't do drugs, you don't get caught up in none of this. And if you do, you better be prepared for what comes with this, because Florida is a treacherous place. Just like in my last video, you got members openly in the KKK putting hits on inmates. You got officers making 30, 40, 50 grand, bringing in guns and everything else you can think of into prison. And inmates are pulling the strings from the inside. So that's one of the most treacherous landscapes to ever navigate in your entire life. There is no help. There's no one that's gonna protect you or save you. So when I tell you guys these chomos get hit up and all this violence happen, all this corruption, extortion, it's not an exaggeration. If the officers are doing this shit on their own, putting hits on inmates that they don't like, and they're making 30, 40, 50 grand, they don't give a fuck about their career or what else, they just wanna make that fast money, imagine what else can happen. That's why you see so many, like, how did they get in there? How did that happen? How did this guy who's in protected custody get his whole head cut off? Or how did this inmate get out and have $90,000? You know what I mean? And they all get indicted by the feds. I mean, it happens time and time again. A lot of times, some of the biggest power players of an organization goes to prison and makes more money on the inside and feeds his soldiers on the outside. And officers are all in it too. Some of them grew up in them same neighborhoods or a part of those same affiliations. And when you put basically a guy that's working a 12-hour shift, that's getting just constantly tried, and you dangle 50, 60 grand in front of his face, you know, maybe he likes women, maybe he likes drugs, whatever it may be, and you can make that happen. Then he feels like he's protected in the prison. No one's gonna humiliate him. No one's gonna throw piss and shit on him. So he's willing to throw it all away, because what are they offering in corrections? So what inmates do is called the art of manipulation. They will sit there and figure everything out about somebody, have their people run everything on the streets and cell phones and everything like that. And they'll find out you owe money on a house, or you're in debt, or you're going through divorce, whatever it may be. And once they learn what you're about, engage in a few conversations, they know exactly what your weakness is, they expose it. And a lot of correction officers in the beginning of their career start off, they're very green, or they want to fit in, so they fall for it. Or you get more callous officers that just hate their shit. They hate being there, so they're willing to make 30, 40 grand, pay off their debt, and get the fuck out of there. They're not trying to spend 20 years in this shithole. So it's a very dirty game. So when you're in prison and you got officers that are willing to put hits on you, you got officers that are bringing anything and everything you can think of in there and making $50,000, $60,000, $70,000. Imagine what the inmates are making. And then you have a bunch of inmates twacked out that are buying the shit, losing their mind on whatever they're using in there, going crazy. The stabbings, the money collections, the murders, and that's when it keeps happening. The cycle. It's a dangerous environment, and it only gets worse the deeper you get. That's why when you go to a more say you go to like a medium or a lower security prison, sometimes those are more dangerous because they're making so much more money because of the lax security. Then you go up to a little higher CM, close management prison, and the officers make it even more violent because they kind of have to do the bidding if they want to get paid. So it's always a treacherous just world you're living in. And you learn to adapt, and you learn to survive, and you learn who you are in there. And some people will throw away their entire life for their greed, or you just get put in a position where there's so much dudes are on that twack in there that you end up in a knife fight in your cell for 15 minutes, and the officers are too busy, you know, making their money and doing their drops to give a fuck about you. Or you got officers that are putting hits on you when you get out. Or you could have a cellmate and he could be the one running the show for everybody. And you don't want that shit around you, but what do? You can't say anything, because if so, you're gonna get hit up. And if he wants you removed, he's not gonna have his people risk it. He's not gonna risk his soldiers. He's gonna have officers come in there and beat the dog shit out of you and take you to confinement and ship you somewhere else. So it is one of the most treacherous situations you can ever be put in, because you never know what's going to happen from day to day. You never know what officer is trying to get at you or wants to just make money, or who put the hit on you. You might fight a dude 2 years ago, get put in a unit, and say one of his organization brothers are in there and he's running the show there, making money, and it was just a simple fist fight. And he didn't like how it happened. He tells the officers, hey, look, you know, we'll give you a little bit of cash here. Fuck him up, beat him up. And they'll do it in a heartbeat, write it up as an accidental slip, fall, whatever, a seizure, however they want to do it. You know, and there's also benefits to it, because these chomo motherfuckers, piece of shit, demonic dudes, they get hit up, and it's very easy to make that happen. A family member who's experienced this type of tragedy, was failed by all facets of life, you know, the systems, the agencies, well, all they got to do is reach out to somebody. 6 degrees of separation. And if they can bring all this in prison, just imagine what they can do to someone we all despise. However, prison can turn 3 years into 27 years. If whatever they want to happen will happen. It's not the wardens, it's not the corporals calling the shots. It's the man, the plug, whoever has the money, the connections, whatever your vice is, that's what's going to control. The puppet master. He sits in a cell, locked down 24/7, making all the money, all the moves, and you would never even know who the fuck it is. Treacherous. Stay out. Stay free. Us.